Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So very often when we have to do things, if you all want a backrest, you can come here. Come. You're okay there? Okay. So very often when we need to get things done, we feel that we have to do it. If we don't do it, it won't be done. But if we look on our life to what we've achieved, where we've reached, how much of it do you think is your doing and your merit? Honestly, if you look back on your life and where things have fallen into place, things have been solved, how much of it do you think is your doing? Not much. Things just fall into place. It's like life takes the most unexpected action and things get solved in ways that my mind can't imagine. So if I look at my life itself is proof that somewhere I'm not the doer, I'm the done. Eckhart Tolle says that you are not the dancer of life, you are the dance. The dancer is this invisible presence who's manifesting you as a dance. And this invisible presence is what often Sri Aurobindo and Savitri refers to as the witness hush, the silence behind. So he says that behind all the chaos of your frontal being, there is a still presence, there's a peace behind. And somewhere Sri Aurobindo actually writes that till we start consciously living from this peace behind, we haven't even begun our spiritual life. That's quite a damper, no, for many of us, because it's occasional that we glimpse this peace behind. But he says that unless you live from this peace behind, you haven't even really started the spiritual path. So there is this peace behind, and it's not a dull, inert peace. It's an omniscient peace. It's an all-knowing peace that is working from the background to make things happen. So there's that gorgeous line in Savitri, even through the mists of mortal thought, infallible are thy mysterious steps. So the frontal mortal thinking is misty, confused, but that wisdom behind, which is fully conscious of us, but we are not conscious of it, which is our own deeper and higher self, that finds a way to guide us through the confusion of our thought. But sometimes if we don't overthink, if the confusion of our thoughts is less, how much swifter would be that action, right? How much, see, Mother did a diagram once. She said, if this is the starting point and this is the end point of your goal, normally a man will go like this, like this, like this, like this and reach. But she says if you take the path of yoga, what she calls the sunlit path, you reach like this, a straight line instead of this. So if we keep our minds quiet, if we are just open to the wisdom and guidance, and sometimes, like a friend of mine was telling me yesterday that there was a crucial decision he had to make, and he said, I'll be quiet and I'll listen to mother and she'll give me the answer, but no answer came. But the answer that came is just be quiet and take one step at a time. The flow she guides you on itself is the answer. Sometimes our mind is not receptive enough to, in thoughts like a flash, receive the answer. But if we are just quiet and we keep telling her, you do, you do. Our problem is, I want to do, I want to do. Yes?
I read somewhere.
Can you please?
I read somewhere that in the book, animals are naturally in alignment with nature, and they flow according to that rhythm. For us, if our soul state is a true state, then we are actually in alignment with that.
Absolutely.
That stops us.
Absolutely. Satprem says that man is the most unhappy of all creatures. Because of his mind, he is the only one who is not what he is. A dog will be a dog and bark when he wants to. A sparrow will chirp when it needs to. But because of my mind, should I speak now? Should I laugh now? Should I say this? How will so and so think? So I don't allow myself to be what I am organically. And that's why I'm the most unhappy of all species. So now Shri Mother's words. Mother says, increase the inner rest. It must become a rest. See, our title is The Witness, Hush and the Soft Repose Within. Repose is rest. So that's what she's talking about. Increase the inner rest. It must become a rest always present, even in the midst of the greatest activity. So there is a thought in Sri Aurobindo's yoga that even if you do a lot of work sincerely, but you're exhausted at the end of the work, you haven't done it in a spirit of surrender. You haven't stayed in that state of inner rest while doing it. Inner rest comes from knowing that the burden of the responsibility is not mine. I'm going to offer myself, but finally I'm not the dancer, I'm the dance of life. Mother will do. So to at every point saying, I'm here, but you do through me. You know that action. If you remember, how many of you have seen Avatar 1, the movie? So you remember the main character, what was his name? Arnold. Ang. I don't remember his name, but when they are losing the battle and he goes to the tree of life, on that planet, the mother goddess is the tree of life. And he's speaking to her, and they are fighting a losing battle because they don't have an army. The invaders are obviously winning. And he speaks to that, the form of the Divine Mother they worship, and he tells her that, look, you know I'm here and I'm going to fight for you, to fight to save this planet. But you will have to help. And next day he goes into the battle, and suddenly all the creatures, it's another planet than the earth, so all the creatures who are very, very strong, the sky creatures and all, they come and they attack the army and he wins. So he couldn't have dreamt that the battle would turn out like this. If he looks at his means, it's a sure thing he's going to lose. But really there's such a truth in Sri Aurobindo's line from Savitri, all can be done if the God touch is there. And if we just invite that God touch like this person does, he's saying, I'm here, I don't know what to do, I don't even know how to go ahead in the battle, every odd is against me. But I'm going to stand up and fight for you, but you'll have to help. And with that, he goes into the battle. And then the mother takes action. So Increase the inner rest. It must become a rest always present, even in the midst of the greatest activity, and so steady that nothing has the power to shake it. Then you will become a perfect instrument for manifestation. If I do work with a lot of anxiety, oh my God, I'll make this mistake, that mistake, oh my God, this will be left done, then somewhere I'm not allowing Mother to flow fully through me. If I do it with great calm, great confidence, I'm here, I'm ready to do, but I'll need your help, and the rest is in your hands, then you will be amazed at the action that flows through you. Quiet. Surely to be quiet is not tamas. In fact, it is only in quietness that the proper thing can be done. What I call quietness is to do work without being disturbed by anything, and to observe everything without being disturbed by anything. So Mother is so precise with her words. She's defined quietness and work so beautifully. It's to do work without being disturbed by anything, without being disturbed by, oh my God, suppose I do wrong, suppose this turns out wrong, and to observe everything. So to do it without being disturbed by your thoughts, and to observe everything without being disturbed by anything. I'm such that I get disturbed by every appearance. Oh my God, this person has delivered it late. Now everything will get delayed. Oh my God, this person said this. Oh my God. So she's given such a beautiful way of being quiet during work, to not be disturbed by your own thoughts, and to observe the appearances of life without letting them disturb you. Again, in Savitri, there's such a beautiful line. Whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever the appearance of life, it's looking hostile, it's looking threatening, whatever are strong ills and present fate. Ills are misfortunes in the moment. So somebody shouting at me, there's hostility, whatever are strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bail. To our seeing, there is only randomness and bail sorrow. A mighty guidance leads us still through all. Whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever are strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bail, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. So our challenge is, whenever appearances seem to go contrary to what we want, first thing is arrest negative thinking. That's the first step. Immediately negative thinking will come. Oh my God, how will this get done? He said this, this happened. Arrest that, because Mother says negative thinking is the first veil over grace. Grace is there ready for it, ready to, like coming back to that avatar story. I mean, he wasn't a practicing yogi, he was a normal man from earth who'd gone to the other planet. But he didn't say, Mother, look, the enemy is so huge, they are so cruel, they are so this. He didn't have any negative thinking. He was just observing what it is. I'm going to fight, I'm ready, I'll go to the battlefield, but you'll have to help me, period. So that's the first thing, that first thing is, don't, whatever the appearance, don't go into negative thinking. Be ready to act and have the quiet faith that Mother's with me, and all can be done if the God touch is there. All can be done if the God, it should be a mantra. Whenever the mind will say, how will it be done? Just be quiet, see Mother in your heart, and just say, all can be done if the God touch is there. So, yeah, no negative thinking, just be quiet. Even if appearances seem threatening, don't create narratives because of the appearances. And then tell her, Mother, you do. I don't know what to do. I genuinely don't know what to do sometimes, but I'm here. I'm available to be your instrument, you do. In quietness, you will feel that the divine force, help and protection are always with you. So this was so beautiful. Just 2 days back, I got a call from someone close to me who was in a very bad shape and not in Bombay. And so at first, even we are human beings, I got caught up in negative thinking. And then I remembered, I said, what am I doing? Why am I thinking negatively? Why am I feeling helpless that I can't help? Whenever there's nothing to do, I can always help by calling on the mother. So I really called on the mother. I did the usual thing I tell all of you to do. See mother high up in the ceiling, 2 shafts of golden light, one into me, one into that person. And I left it. Sure enough, next day he took a call saying everything had settled. So we should never feel helpless. We can always give a great help, and consciousness help is always better than, suppose he was in Bombay also and I'd run there and I'd got carried away with his negativity. I'd have joined him in fighting the person who was fighting him. I'm not helping. I think I helped much more by being distant, by having my faith and giving consciousness help. Sometimes that's a better help to give. So, at the hour of danger, a perfect quietness is required. This is so beautiful. At the hour of danger, see, there may not be real danger, but when I'm anxious and feeling threatened, for me that's the hour of danger. Any moment of anxiety for me is an hour of danger. So at the hour of danger, a perfect quietness is required, no negative thinking. When one remains perfectly quiet without fear, nothing serious can happen. What an assurance! When one remains perfectly quiet and without fear, nothing serious can happen. We all know Satprem's story, right? Satprem was very, very close to the mother, one of the closest to her. And of course, he made a lot of enemies because he was outspoken, he was a rebel, he went against a lot of things the ashram commanded. So of course, he made a lot of enemies. And one day, this was after the mother had moved on, somebody had hatched a plot to assassinate him. So he says he was in a canyon all alone and the assassin had a gun to his head. And he said, at that moment, I don't know what happened to me. My mind went completely blank. There was not one vibration of fear. And he says, suddenly the assassin trembled and ran away. So it's so true. At the hour of danger, if you can remain perfectly quiet and without fear, fear is our greatest enemy. But if you can remain perfectly quiet and without fear, nothing serious can happen. The only thing you have to do is to remain quiet, undisturbed, solely turn towards the divine. The rest is in His hands. So beautiful. We can read it and not absorb it, and then it's nothing. But this one simple sentence, if you really absorb it, it's like a Bible to live by. The only thing you have to do is to remain quiet. Quiet means not given to negative thinking. Undisturbed, solely turn towards the divine. The rest is in His hands.
So when you're going through it and naturally the fear and everything arises, negativity, and you know that it's there. So at that moment, you can keep offering it also.
So the question is, when you're going through a dark patch and there's fear and negativity, what do you do? So one thing is, yes, of course you can keep offering it. One thing is, don't believe your negative thoughts. I keep repeating that. In hindsight, you'll always see that your negative thoughts never told you the truth. That your negative thoughts were imagining worst case scenarios which never came true. So instead of knowing it in hindsight, while it's happening, don't believe your thoughts. arrest that negative narrative. If you can't, then of course offer it to mother, but if you offer it to her and next minute a negative thought comes and you start believing it, then you know what I mean, you're not really offering it. See through it. See that it's whatever you think about a situation with your thoughts is never true. Mother has said it 100 times, your mind is not only an instrument of truth. Your mind will never tell you the truth about anything. So firstly, don't believe your thought. Use your willpower to arrest the negative thinking. And then of course call to the mother. Do what this guy in Avatar did. I'm here, this is a battle, I'm going to fight it, but you help me, and leave it at that. Be quiet, always calm, peaceful, and let the force work in your consciousness through the transparency of a perfect sincerity. How does mother define sincerity? To be open to no influence but the divine. So from that opening to the divine, let the force work in your consciousness. See, if an outer outcome is difficult, there's a direct one-to-one correspondence between the outer and the inner. The more the outer agitates you, the more it will go out of balance outside. But if you bring your inner to peace and faith, and just the decision that I'm going to be happy no matter what, in proportion to how much your inner falls into place, the outer will fall into place. So you never help a situation by getting agitated about it or worrying about it. It is only in quietness and peace that one can know what is the best thing to do. These were all mother's words. Most of today is mother's words. Calm. Be very careful to remain always calm and peaceful, and let an integral equanimity establish itself more and more completely in your being. Do not allow your mind to be too active and to live in a turmoil. Do not jump to conclusions from a superficial view of things. Always take your time. See, our habit of jumping to conclusions, it's the root of our misery. Whatever conclusion you make, whatever judgment you make, step back, particularly if it's a judgment which is creating unhappiness in you. Don't believe it at first knee-jerk impulse. Step back. Very often what you see is not what it actually is. Very often your interpretations of, so one of my students was telling me that she wrote in her exam paper that once I saw my friends whispering, looking at me, talking, and for a whole week they were doing it, and I was sure they were backbiting about me, and I was miserable that whole week. Finally on my birthday, they gave me a surprise and a gift, and all that whispering was to give me the surprise gift. But one whole week I spent in misery because I believed what my mind was telling me. So many examples you will see from your own life that, in Savitri there's a beautiful line, this world is an endless masquerade when nothing is utterly what it seems. And he's saying nothing. What it seems, it's not. So don't keep believing your judgments about things and becoming unhappy. Then this is a beautiful line. Mother says, indeed, all life is love if we know how to live it. All life is love if we know how to live it. Sweetness is within every heart. Can you believe it? The person you hate, the person who's the bane of your life. Mother saying sweetness is in her heart also, his heart also. Bitterness is an illusion that melts in the sun of divine love. Bitterness is an illusion that melts in the sun of divine love. So the worst person If you keep approaching that person from the highest in you, Mother says the highest in that person is obliged to come forward and respond to you. So God is in everyone, so that means sweetness is in every heart. Bitterness is an illusion that melts in the sun of the divine love. It is not in the outward circumstances that you must look for quietness. It is from inside yourself. If you don't have that quiet inside yourself, you can be in the quietest of places, but you will be miserable. And if you have that quietness inside you, you can be in the most noisy place, but you will feel it. Deep inside the being, there is a peace that brings quietness in the whole being down to the body if we allow it to do so. The problem is we read this 100 times, we hear it 100, but we don't really believe it. We don't really believe that deep inside each one of us there is a peace, and it can bring quietness down to the whole body if we allow it to do so. It is that peace you must seek, and then you will get the quietness you wish for. Then she says, there is no greater peace than that of a pure mind. So it's the impurities of our consciousness that take away our peace. Somewhere Ramakrishna Paramahansa writes that the absolutely purified mind is the Atma. So mind is a veil on the Atma. Atma is purity. And Eckhart Tolle says you don't become good by trying to be good. You become good by tuning into the goodness that's always with you as your real nature. That's what Mother said. No, in every heart there is sweetness. We just have to remove the veils on that sweetness. We don't have to force an artificial goodness into us. There is no greater peace than that of a pure mind. Solace in the mind, a silent peace. In peace and inner silence, you will more and more become conscious of the constant presence. That's why in all yogas, there's so much of an emphasis on silence, because mental noise is what keeps you away from your God self. Rishi Patanjali, his first yoga, Sutra 1.2 yoga, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the union with the divinity inside you when thoughts stop. So you don't have to do anything to become the divinity you are. If thoughts stop, you fall into union with it. In peace and silence, the eternal manifests. Let nothing trouble you, and the eternal will manifest. It is in an unshakable peace that can be found the true power. It is in peace that knowledge and power are truly effective. It is only in silence that a true progress can be made. It is only in silence that one can rectify a wrong movement. So very often when we meditate, suddenly our inner wisdom tells us, oh, you did this wrong today, you thought this wrong. But if we don't sit quietly and people point it out to us, we rebel. But when we sit quietly, our own inner wisdom tells us what we need to correct inside us. That's why it's very, very important to sit quietly for a period of time every single day. It is only in silence that one can be of help to somebody else. Silence, the condition of the being when it listens to the divine. So beautiful. Silence is the condition of the being when it listens to the divine. So, yeah, prayer is talking to the divine, but after talking, it's so beautiful to be quiet and to listen also. That's also very important. So these are Sri Aurobindo's words now. I'm glad we have his words. We all know today is the day he came to Pondicherry, right? 4th April for the first time. So the self, we must attain the absolute peace and stillness in which we become aware of the calm, motionless, blissful self within us, which is eternally untroubled and unaffected by the touches of things. It is sufficient to itself and finds there alone its eternal satisfaction. So Sri Aurobindo says that in all of us, although veiled, although we are not conscious of it, there is a calm, motionless, blissful self which is never troubled or affected by the touches of things. It is sufficient to itself. It doesn't need anything from outside to be happy. So in Vedas, there's a beautiful word, Swayambhu. One who is a womb to himself, one who gets whatever he wants from himself, who has no desires, because in being that consciousness which is always happy, Nitya Shuddh, always pure, Nitya Tript, eternally contented, when you're just so happy, what can you want? You want objects of desire because you're somewhere unhappy. You feel incomplete and you feel if this desire is met, you'll be happy. If so and so gives me that extra attention, I'll be happy. If I get into this college, I'll be happy. If then I'll be happy. But Sri Aurobindo is reminding us that unknown to us, we are a consciousness which is always happy, always complete, always blissful. So such a consciousness can't desire anything. So Sri Aurobindo actually, when mother's husband Paul Richard asked Sri Aurobindo, Paul Richard had done a lot of study in Buddhism. So he said, Buddha says that if we end all desires, we'll get nirvana. So Sri Aurobindo says, no. If we end all desire, we get bliss and delight. That is the positive nirvana. To not a motionless peace, but the joy that we really are. If we touch that joy, we'll see that nothing in the universe can give us a fraction of that joy. So that's what he's saying. We must obtain that absolute peace and stillness in which we can become aware of the calm, motionless, blissful self within us, which is eternally untroubled and unaffected by the touches of things. It is sufficient to itself, it's enough for itself, it doesn't depend on anyone else to complete it, and finds there alone its eternal satisfaction. The self is our self-existent being. It is not limited by our personal existence. That means even when we die, this self continues. The self that we really are is eternal and immortal. It is the same in all existences, passive, equal. So this self is not just in me. It's everywhere. It's omnipresent and omniscient. Passive, equal to all things, supporting the whole universal action with its infinity. Remember, we began our talk by saying that we are the dance, not the dancer. So this self is the real dancer behind every dance of existence, supporting the whole universal action with its infinity, but unlimited by all that is finite, unmoved by the changings of nature and personality. So beautiful. There is something inside us which is not affected by the most negative thought we think, by the worst negative emotion we feel. Last class we said it's like sunshine which falls equally on all things. It falls equally on the ugliest garbage dump, it doesn't become less in its shine. Equally, on the most beautiful garden, it doesn't shine more. So that self in us doesn't change with our changing thoughts and emotions. And if we can once glimpse that, we stop being imprisoned by our thoughts and emotions. If once we can sense that presence in us, which never changes with our changing thoughts and emotions, it's the first glimpse of freedom in human experience. Otherwise, we are not free. We are prisoners of our thoughts. One single negative thought and we are lost. So, unlimited by all that is finite, unmoved by the changings of nature and personality. You know, it can give you great solace if you really absorb this thought of Sri Aurobindo, that I am the self who is not disturbed by this anxious thought, who is not disturbed by this emotion of jealousy. There's a part of me which is never touched by it, and that's the essential part of me. The part of me in thoughts and emotions is not the essential me. It is part of me, but it's a very superficial part of me. The real deeper me is never touched by any negativity on the surface. Our senses fall into this stillness and receive the touch of the world on a basis of supreme tranquility. So, what better model of this kind of tranquility? We know that on Siddhi Day, 24th November, when Krishna consciousness descended into Sri Aurobindo, everyone else was jumping about it because our vitals are small, we get easily agitated. And then Mother came and told Sri Aurobindo that today Krishna consciousness descended into you, and he was like a Himalaya of peace. He's looking into the distance and saying, yes, now let's see what happens. I mean, an event that had never happened in the history of earth, and he was the Adhar, but no jumping, no excitement. Yes, now let's see what happens. That's the kind of vast vital he had. It didn't get disturbed by, it didn't get agitated by the good, and it never, of course, got agitated by anything bad either. So that's one thing to remember actually. When good things happened also, we should be happy. But sometimes that happiness makes us unconscious. What I'm saying is, the good thing happens and we keep thinking about it, and we are not in the present moment. So we become unconscious. So that is also not good. We should enjoy it and then let it be. It's okay. Other good things will also come. And it's not that I'm something on top of the world because this good thing happened. Others have achieved more than me, and it's a blip in, it's nothing. Our ego is very quick to get very easily flattered, very easily excited. And as we said last class, when Vivekanand was told something by people that your master is in India and you're so great, he thundered that my master Ramakrishna can make and break 100 Vivekanands in a second. And it's beautiful to remember that whatever I've achieved, whatever I am, Mother can break and destroy 100 Anahitas, 100 Prarthanas, 100 Prishas in a second. It's so humbling to think that. So even if we achieve, not to become unconscious and arrogant in that achievement.
It's like at that time we don't enjoy the moment, but we get entangled into the thought that now this will happen.
Yeah. So our senses fall into this stillness and receive the touches of the world on a basis of supreme tranquility. Mind falls into silence and becomes the calm universal witness. This universal witness is that self behind which is never disturbed by any thought or emotion. Our ego dissolves itself into this impersonal existence. All things we see in this self, which we have become in ourselves, and we see this self in all. We become one being with all beings in the spiritual basis of their existence. So when we fall into this witness hush, we automatically fall into a sense of oneness with everyone. By doing works in this selfless tranquility and impersonality, our work cease to be ours, because to make it mine, I have to exist as Anahita. But when I fall into this witness hush, there's no Anahita. So our work cease to be ours, cease to bind or trouble us with their reactions. All is given up into the one equal and universal Brahma. We know the story of Guru Nanak, no? He was working in a granary and he used to measure out grain and give to the customers. So he measured 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And when he reached 13, suddenly the word 13 meant yours to him. And he went into a trance that everything is the divine. So he kept saying Tera, Tera, Tera till all that granary got emptied out. Because it reminded him that nothing is mine, everything is the divine's. So if we do work out of that nothing is really mine, it's all hers, it's all his. Our work cease to be ours, cease to bind or trouble us with their reactions. All is given up into the one equal and universal Brahma. Then Sri Aurobindo writes about the two souls in us. Thus there are, we may say, two souls in us, the apparent or desire soul, which changes with mutations of gunas. Gunas are, who knows the three gunas? Rajas, Sattva, Tamas. So yoga philosophy says everything is a play of gunas. The body is a play of gunas, thoughts is a play of gunas, emotions is a play of gunas. So the desire soul, which changes with the changing gunas and is entirely constituted and determined by them. So desire soul is in that sense Prakriti, everything that changes, our thoughts, emotions, the body. And the free and eternal Purusha, not limited by nature and her gunas. So Purusha is that self behind, the witness behind, which is unaffected by the changing gunas. We are made up of these two, the desire soul which keeps changing, and the deeper soul, which is the Purusha, which is unaffected by the changes on the front. We have two selves, the apparent self, which is only the ego, the mental center in us, which takes up this mutable action of Prakriti, this mutable personality, and which says, I am this personality, I am this natural being who is doing these works. But the natural being is simply nature, composite of gunas. And the true self, which is indeed the upholder and possessor and lord of nature and figured in her, but is not itself mutable natural personality. The way to be free must then to be get rid of the desires of this desire soul, and the false view of this ego. But again, it's very difficult to get rid of desires. But Sri Aurobindo and the mother have given us a beautiful movement. They've said experiment. When you have a lot of desires, experiment transcending or giving away the desire. Because mother says there's infinitely more joy in transcending a desire than fulfilling it. Has anyone experienced that? That you really want something and somehow When you worked on yourself so you don't want it anymore, it gives you more joy than if you actually got it. Because how do you transcend a desire? How do you transcend a desire? Offer it to the mother, yes. What else? See, when you're in the realm of Prakriti, when you're in the realm of thought, the desire is very strong. But if you step back into the Purusha, into the self, and watch the thought of desire, immediately the desire goes away, because the thought of desire is telling you you can be happy only if you get this object. You can be happy only if this person stops behaving like that. That's also a desire. But if you step into the Purusha, the very fabric of the Purusha is joy. And then you discover that you can be joyful even if that object of desire is not satisfied. So every time you transcend a desire, you're naturally stepping into the self without knowing it. And the very nature of the self is joy. So, and okay, suppose I don't have, suppose, see, it's levels of consciousness. You have to be conscious enough to sense that deeper self, which maybe in the moment I'm not. Maybe I'm too embroiled in Prakriti and I can't consciously sense the witness in me. Then you remove a thorn with a bigger thorn. You remind yourself that I want the mother more than the object of desire. I want the truth of myself more than the object of desire. I want to be happy and peaceful more than I want this object of desire. If this object of desire is taking away my peace, making me unhappy, to remind myself, arey, even if I don't get it, I just want to be peaceful and happy. Just by reminding yourself of these things, you transcend little bit your attachment to desire, and every baby step counts. One thing is, when the mind is telling you I can be happy only if that desire is fulfilled, don't believe it. Tell your mind, stand up for yourself to your mind, no, I don't believe you. I can be happy even without this object of desire. So, but the true soul of man is not there. It's not in the desire soul, the changing mind, body and emotions. It is in the true invisible heart, hidden in some luminous cave of the nature. There, under some infiltration of the divine light, is our soul. He's talking about what? The psychic being. The true soul is the psychic being in us. The true invisible heart. In the Vedas, it's called Angusht Matra. It's the size of a thumb. It's the presence in the cave of our heart. There, under some infiltration of the divine light, is our soul, a silent, inmost being of which few are even aware. For if all have a soul, few are conscious of their true soul or feel its direct impulse. So sometimes we are so caught up in our mind, body and emotion that all of us have a soul. But the soul is asleep. It's not able to consciously come forward and guide us as it would if we made efforts to get in touch with it. There dwells the little spark of the divine which supports the obscure mass of our nature, and around it grows the psychic being, the true formed soul or the real man within us. It is as the psychic being in him grows and the movements of the heart reflect its durations and impulsions that man becomes more and more aware of his soul, ceases to be a superior animal and awakens to the glimpses of the Godhead within him. admits more and more its intimations of a deeper life and consciousness and an impulse towards things divine. So, if we are here on a Saturday evening, it's somewhere the call of the psychic being, because the psychic being will pull you away from the glittering attractions of life and pull you towards what's the deepest need of your soul. You understand, if I'm not in touch with the psychic being, I'd rather Saturday evening be partying with friends. But it's the psychic being which nudges you and say, no, do something that nourishes me. Give me my food also. So it is the psychic being grows in him, and the movements of the heart reflect its durations and impulsions, that man becomes more and more aware of his soul, ceases to be a superior animal. Now, Savitri, page 285, this witness hush is the thinker's secret base. So this silence behind is the birthplace of thought. This witness hush is the thinker's secret base. Hidden in silent depths, the word is formed. So we think we are thinking the thought, but there is a deep interplay between the witness hush, the subconscious. I mean, how thought is born is a mystery none of us can really wrap our mind around. And we are living with this mystery day and night. The witness hush is the thinker's secret base. Hidden in silent depths, the word is formed. From hidden silences, the act is born. Into the voiceful mind, the laboring world. In secrecy wraps the seed, the eternal sows. Silence, the mystic birthplace of the soul. There's such a beautiful line. Silence, the mystic birthplace of the soul. Further, I mean, it's not continuous, but on page 285, aims puny but looming large in man's small scale. So suppose somebody has said something to us. In that moment, our aim becomes, I will show her, I will take my revenge, I will prove to her she's wrong. That's actually a very puny aim in the larger scheme of things. But aims puny but looming large. In that moment they loom so large, it becomes the most important thing in my life at that moment. In man's small scale, flickers of imagination's brilliant gauze and cobweb wrapped beliefs alive no more. So when we touch this witness hush, these puny aims and imagination's flickerings live no more in us. The magic hut of built up certitudes made out of glittering dust and bright moonshine, in which it shrines the image of the real. So, whenever we feel resentment towards anyone, or whenever we are judging anyone negative, see, resentment can come when somebody's actively done us harm, or I'm just a very critical mind which enjoys putting people down in my mind, which enjoys saying, oh, this is bad, this is not on. Both are resentment, no? A negative judgment towards somebody is also a form of resentment. Would you agree? So Eknath Ishwaran very beautifully says, harboring resentment towards anyone could result in more than one impaired relationship. It's breaking our connection with our own truth. Our truth is oneness, right? If I'm constantly being judgmental and negative and resentful, I'm moving away from myself. So Rishi Patanjali beautifully classifies thoughts as pain-giving thoughts which take you away from your truth, and non-pain-giving thoughts. And what are they called? klishta and aklishta, right? So aklishta vritti, aklishta thought wave is a thought wave which brings me closer to my truth. And klishta is that which takes me away from my truth. So if I'm being negative about somebody, if I'm saying she doesn't even know how to dress up, supposing in my mind, to her I'm saying you look gorgeous, but in my mind I'm thinking look how she dresses up. Is it a klishta or a klishta vritti? It's a klishta vritti because it's taking me away from my truth of oneness. So if I become conscious, I have to more and more encourage aklishta vrittis to arise in me and not feed the klishta vrittis. Remind myself that this negative judgment, it's harming me more than her because it's taking me away from my truth. So now these are from A.S. Dalal's compilation of Eckhart Tolle and Sri Aurobindo. So this is an interview of A.S. Dalal with Eckhart Tolle. Dalal, so when one is observing one's thoughts dispassionately in a state of detachment, there is presence. Presence here means the witnessing consciousness. Yeah? The self behind. So Dalal is asking, when one is observing one's thoughts dispassionately is not feeding them, not indulging, not adding or subtracting anything, just watching them. In a state of detachment, I'm not attached to the thought, there is presence. Eckhart, yes, the ability to stand back, observe one's own mind, the stream of thinking, that means there is stillness. This is an aspect of presence which arises. And that stillness sees, knows. There is a knowing in that stillness. Through the stillness, you know what is there, but there is no reactive relation to it. So, this is very important. Everyone says that everyone tells me to witness, but I don't know how to witness. The first step of witnessing is when a thought comes, don't add or subtract anything to it. That's the first step. As soon as a thought comes, oh, it's hot, supposing that's the thought. Oh, I wish I'd worn lighter clothes. When will this get over and I get out? You understand, with one thought, so many other thoughts come. So in order to witness, first step is don't add or subtract anything to the thought. And just let it come and go like bubbles on a stream, like clouds passing in the sky. Step out of them, be a thought, and see what will help you to witness thoughts is remind yourself, none of my thoughts tell me the absolute truth about anything. Because we believe thoughts, we engage in them so much. But if you want to just witness your thoughts, tell yourself, my thoughts are not telling me the truth about anything. And to touch the real self that I am, I have to disengage from thoughts. And to disengage from thoughts, I have to remove my reactivity to thoughts. I like this thought, I don't like this thought. And just let it come and go like clouds on a sky. So, through the stillness, you know what is there, but there is no reactive relation to it. It's allowed, so you don't wish it away. You don't say, oh, I have to be silent, so I'm going to push away this thought. No, that's another thought. There's no reactive relation to it. It's allowed. You allow the thought to come. Stillness allows it to be there. That is the arising of presence. To witness your own thoughts is already the arising of presence. For some people, it comes through New Age practices, observing and suddenly becoming aware how negative your mind is. Then realizing that 80% of your thoughts are of a negative nature, condemning, judging, criticizing. even then there is some presence arising. Why is there some presence arising? If you realize that 80% of your thoughts are negative, why is there presence arising? Huh? No, not the... You're at least aware that, oh my God, what kind of mind have I cultivated? 80% of my thoughts are negative. If there's no presence, you'll just go on thinking negative thought without even realizing what you're doing. That's unconscious. So even then there is some presence arising, and only that can change your thought from negative to positive. Again, of course, there is some presence there, but you are still mostly interested in the realm of thought. So the shift from negative to positive thinking is the intermediate step for many people. Oh my God, 80% of my thought is negative. I must do something about it. It's an intermediary step. It already implies that there is some presence somewhere. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be aware that there is negative thinking. You feel it's justified. Of course, the world is bad. People are bad. I'm going to think negatively. So that is ultimate unconsciousness. The awareness that there is negative thinking is already presence arising. So when they shift to positive, they might then find that their life improves because the external circumstances and thought processes are linked to form. We discussed that your internal and external are inextricably linked. You live with a lot of negative thinking, there will be negativity in your external life to that proportion. But then comes a time when they find that even though their life improves, they are still experiencing highs and lows, ups and downs. The more positive your thinking becomes, the more positive your outer environment happens, but still there are ups and downs. And then the next step is stepping back from thought altogether, transcending the polarities of thought, no longer being trapped in the polarities, or thinking that through changing your thought processes you can arrive at a state of lasting peace. Just by thinking positive you won't have lasting peace, because thoughts will keep taking you up and down. But that doesn't work. You can improve your life here and there, but you will not arrive at a state of lasting peace through positive thinking. Next question, Dalal asks Eckhart Tolle regarding the meaning of analyzing after becoming aware of a reaction and recognizing it as, say, anger or fear. If one then tries to understand how it came about, what produced it, is that analyzing and is it useful? So Eckhart replies, when you look at anger, the main thing is to look at it. Sometimes out of the state of looking, the witnessing consciousness, the presence, out of that state very often realizations come. And so as you look at the emotional movement, which is all that is needed, sometimes suddenly you realize, for example, what unconscious reactive mind movement that emotion is associated within in yourself. And you suddenly say, oh, that's where it came from, the mind movement. Or you may suddenly realize in some cases there may be an origin for that which you've forgotten, something that may have happened in childhood, and you suddenly say, oh, that's what it is. For example, you're walking up a dark staircase and you suddenly feel a lot of fear. And if you want to bring consciousness to the fear, you look at the fear, and that doesn't mean you analyze the fear. You just stay present to the fear. The fear may have a counterpart somewhere in your body, you feel it, and then without thinking about it, an insight comes. Oh, when I was very little, I got lost in darkness. That's why. So if that insight comes, it's the truth that sets you free. Then you realize that walking up the dark staircase is nothing threatening. I am scared because of my past. Then if that insight comes, it's the truth that sets you free. In future, you will be able to go into darkness without fear. So, a woman may see that she is repeating some pattern to do with her father in childhood and her relationship with men. And if she sees that, she won't repeat it. But if she doesn't see that, it's an unconscious pattern which will go on being repeated. But what she saw, that's but one of the many possible examples, is through the act of witnessing consciousness. What is primary is to stay present with what is here, give attention to it. Secondary is certain insights in the form of thoughts, realizations, which may arise out of that primary state. He's saying a very important and subtle thing. For example, that fear. If I go on questioning, why did I feel afraid, and keep thinking about it, I won't get the answer. I have to sit with the fear as a raw emotion without converting it to thought. I have to feel the raw emotion, I have to feel where it is in my body and just stay present to it. As I stay present to it from a space beyond my mind, an insight may come or something will change. Maybe an insight won't come, but as I keep feeling the sensation of fear, it will diminish, and that awareness itself will take care of the fear. But I don't have to keep thinking about it beyond a point. So primary is to stay present with what is here, give attention to it. Secondary is certain insights in the form of thoughts, realizations which may arise out of that primary state. So that often is the case. So I wouldn't say that you put emphasis on analyzing where it comes from. That would take the focus away from what it is, would move away the focus into the past. The focus remains with what it is. Then as a secondary movement, realizations may come as byproducts of that. And that's often the case. So with that we pause, remembering the witness, hush, and the soft repose within. The soft repose within is, we must end with these lines from Savitri. They are gorgeous. They are, as might a soul fly like a hunted bird, escaping with tired wings from a world of storms. So each of us is sometimes feeling hunted, hunted by our schedule, by our pressures, by our ambitions, by media, by social pressure, by whatever. So as might a soul fly, escaping with tired wings from a world of storm, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast. When we find the presence within, it's like there's an infant who's very hungry and who's crying, and he finally finds his mother's breast to suckle on. So a remembered breast in a haven of safety and splendid soft repose. So finding that presence within us, it's like, I remember a friend of mine when she went to Pondi for the first time, she said, it was the first time when I went to the Samadhi, I felt I could just rest and be taken care of, that I don't have to keep struggling and fighting to survive. So these are very living words. When we find the mother, not just at the Samadhi, but within us, we find that soft repose within us. As might a soul fly like a hunted bird escaping with tired wings, a world of storms, as might a soul fly like a, what are the exact words? As might did bird escaping with tired wings, a world of storms, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast in a haven of safety and splendid soft repose. One could drink life back in streams of honey fire. Honey is sweet. So once we find mother, we drink life back in streams of honey fire, recover the lost habit of happiness. I think that's true for so many of us. We are in the habit of being unhappy till we find mother. Then we recover the lost habit of happiness. Preen joy in her warmth and colors rule. A deep of compassion, a hushed sanctuary. Love in her was wider than the universe. The whole world could take refuge in her single heart. So with that we end. I don't know the page number, it's from memory, but I'll message you. Remind me. It's very beautiful that it's right in the beginning of Savitri. First few 59 is that alive in a dead rotating universe. Huh?
It's here, the whole para.
So which page is it? Tell her.
It's not written, I mean just generally the para is like book 1, canto 2. The page I'll find.
I'll tell you. Yeah? Let's end with 3 ohms. Ooh.